All right, now in the recording zone. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Danny Plyler. I'm a professional development specialist with Edmentum. And just some quick background, I spent 30 years working in North Carolina public schools as classroom teacher and instructional technology facilitator. And I retired and got the opportunity to start working for Edmentum just shortly after April of 2024. I had been a director of digital teaching and learning for about the last 7 or 8 years of my public education career, and we were customers for Edmentum. And when I got ready to retire, I wanted to work for a company who had done the best for me in terms of support, meeting my needs as a director, and then also what I saw in the progress from our students. So happy to be here as a representative of Edmentum today. I know she mentioned not unmuting as much as you can, but I got really quickly. I want you to know just a brief little bit about me, not just that I'm a guy who showed up for an hour and talked to you about courses. Either in the chat or if you'll unmute really quickly, pick one picture, somebody, I'll tell you a quick story, and then we'll jump into our content just as a quick icebreaker.
Danny, I want to know about all those lovely people celebrating with
At the bottom
you at the
down. All right.
bottom. Yeah.
Thank you, Carly. All right. So that was the when I retired from Nash County Public Schools, where I was working at the time. They threw a little party for me at the end. It was fun. It was nice. They had make sure that all my kids were there as well. And so from the middle, working my way out, going this way, this is my lovely wife, Susie. She and I have been married for 32 years. We met actually in college together. Somebody said about the card. So the card story kind of goes with that. She and I met on a college choir tour coming back from Texas, and learned how to play. We played a huge spades tournament there. After it was over, she and her partner ended up beating me and my partner for the championship at the end. But we started dating right after that and been married for 32 years since. So that's kind of that little background there together. Get you two for one there. Going to the right, this young man here is my middle son, Drew, and his wife, Abby. They've been married about 2 years. He's 24. This is my youngest son on the end, Bentley. Excuse me, almost 20. He is now the tallest of all of us, which irritates his brothers a little bit. Going this way, the cute little boy that I'm holding right there is my grandson, Toby. He will be 3 next month in November, almost a month from now. And this is his dad, my oldest son, Will, his wife, Caitlin, and my mother-in-law, Brenda, who lives with us here. I live in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. So that's just a little bit about me. Actually, this is in a Google slide presentation. If you ever have a chance and want to kind of get to know some of your adult learners, this is a great way for them to do that and kind of experience and learn about each other too. I'll throw that in later on. I'll send it to Carly and she can send it out to those who attend today. So at Edmentum, our mission is to create innovative, proven learning technology, partner with educators like you to ignite student, in this case, adult learner potential. We're going to honor that mission today by navigating the courses platform. We're going to talk about the ins and outs um, of how the courseware platform works. I'm going to talk to you about the Pointful courses in particular, which is the ones you guys are going to be using. We're going to talk about teacher tasks and what you're going to be doing when you create those classes, set them up, how you monitor their students as they're going through it. And I'll give you a brief overview of what the student view looks like as well at the end. And hopefully, if there's time left, we have some demo teacher accounts that hopefully you'll be able to use and kind of walk along through that afterwards. We're going to try that at the end, only have an hour, so we'll kind of see what we get to by the end of the session. So hopefully you'll be able to answer this essential question at the end. How can I use courses, and in particular the Pointful courses, to support my students to earn or recover credits? So let's talk about navigating the platform. So here's what you're going to see from the teacher side. Whenever you log in, you will be able to preview and look at all of the content that your students are going to be working through. You will see an area here where you can open up each unit and lesson to see what the students will be working on. We're going to talk through that in a few minutes. There's an editing way that you can move units around. You can turn particular courses on or off if you want them to see those. If you need to do editing pieces, we're going to talk about that in the teacher interface when we get to that. And in terms of the structure, there's always going to be some direct instruction for them. Some of it's video related, some of it's text. Unscored things, there are self-graded discussions for them as they're going through that, for them to process the information they're getting and talk through that themselves. They kind of look at those rubrics and make those kind of decisions for themselves. Quick scored formative assessments would be some checkups and quizzes and computer scored tests that they will do as they walk through that. and then some scored assessments for you, some practice assignments and projects that you will score as teachers when they go through those, and there will always be a semester or exam at the end of the session when they get done. So that's kind of the basic breakdown of the structure you will see within the courses, and we'll get a good look at those in just a few minutes. So here's what we're going to be walking through today in terms of your teacher tasks. We're going to explore the dashboard both as a site coordinator and a teacher, because from what I understand since we have so many different sites represented here, there will need to be a site coordinator who's probably also a teacher. So you'll have both roles. We're going to talk a little bit about what that looks like, how you can batch import student accounts. That's the only way for us to be able to get the student ID numbers that they need for reporting. We're going to talk about creating classes, how do you set the settings for those courses. We'll talk about the scaffolds and supports that are built in when they show you the student part, the student demo, and show you how to monitor the student progress within the gradebooks. That's a lot we're going to try to accomplish in a short amount of time. So I'm going to go ahead now and get to the platform itself. Here's what the Apex platform looks like. Courses is a part of Apex Learning. I've got it. Notice right now I'm on the site coordinator login. On the page here, there's alerts. So if your district puts out any kind of alerts that you need to know or something within the system, they would show up here. We have a help center, and I'm going to go ahead and open that for right now, just so you can see what it is. Help center is here, and this is basically just our glossary of everything there is to know about Apex in general. We're going to look specifically at one of these pieces in just a second, referencing the batch import. There's announcements. So if you need to make announcements to all of the folks that are in there, be teachers and students alike, you can just click the add button here, the plus button here to add an announcement. That will show up on their dashboard just the same as you'd see it here. And there's a messaging area. You as a site administrator would have access to messaging either teachers or students, either one. Students would only have access to message the teacher. And we'll talk about that when we see their page in just a few minutes. So in terms of your actions here, the one we're going to look at first, and I'm not going to go through the whole process, but I want to point out what you would need to do when you're logged in as a site admin to be able to make this process and get your students uploaded. So you would click batch import. It's going to choose a file for you. You're going to choose the file, give it a description if you need it, and choose whether you want to send the passwords out. I would definitely recommend that for the first time so that they would get their password, or the student would get their username and password. And you can obviously get a notification when the process is complete. But from the Help Center again here, now it's going to take us into the page that talks all about the batch import. There's directions for you here with a reference guide. And particularly to start out with, you're going to want to use this batch import template for registration. So that's the template you would use. You would fill out with all the student information you need. And this reference guide would walk you through the pieces of that and how to put that file together and then import it into the system. And then your students would be there ready for you to go. We just got that opened up and ready for your account this morning. So I'm very excited about that for you. That'll be easier for you in terms of getting students created. So at this point, the only other thing here from the site coordinator would be looking at reports for your whole site. I know one of the things that I was asked to show you was how you would run reports that would get you time on task when the students are working within the system. So from the menu, I would choose reports. I'm going to choose the organization, and you will choose yours. And then the org-wide attendance report would be what you would want to pick for that. It gives you the opportunity to choose the dates from start and end date of the report that you want to see. You hit download. It creates a quick Excel file for you. I'm probably going to have to pull it from my other page. Oh, there it is. Okay. And so now you can see the students, and as you scroll across, it tells you what classes they're in, who the teacher is, what course title they're working on, and the date they were in it, how much time they spent, and the activities they completed, and so forth. So that's the information, as far as I could tell from what I was asked, that's what you would need to be reporting in terms of their time on task within the system. So that gives you the full org with that. When we're on the teacher side, you can run a similar report just for the particular class by an individual class that you want to look at. So that's pretty much the parts of the site coordinator that we want to touch on today. We're going to spend most of our time within the teacher portion. So now I've just got a drop down menu right here, and I'm going to change to teacher. Notice all my other pieces over here on the side are the same. I still got options here. I can send announcements to an individual class or multiple classes if I want to, messages, and then an actions button here that we're going to look at first. Once you have classes that you've created, obviously you'll have a list of classes here like you see in mine, but I'm going to click the actions button and I'm going to add a classroom. Now I know you see batch import right here, but my account is both a site admin and a teacher, so I would still have access to that. If you only had a teacher role, you would not see that batch import there if you were just a teacher. So I'm going to click add classroom. You're going to click your solution. For you guys, it'll have Pointful and probably the name of your location on it. So we're going to pick just the Pointful classes. I would suggest as you look under the electives and see what classes are available, choose what class you want before you decide what your classroom name is going to be. That way you're creating a name for the class that's related to the course that you're going to make the content for. I'm going to scroll down here and choose construction for this one. I check the box beside it. So that's the content I'm adding, or the course I'm adding to this classroom. So we're going to say this is construction. And I'm going to say this is for the fall of 2025. Let's say we want them to finish it by Christmas. If you're doing a year long, you could do year long, 25, 26, whatever makes sense to you. And I'm going to put my name as teacher at the end of that. So in case I share it with somebody else, they would know that it's my class. All right. I've got that done now, and I'm going to click save. The start date defaults to that day. Forgot to mention that. You can change that and push it back. So if you know you've got a class that's not going to start for a couple of weeks, you can change that start date as well. It automatically takes me to teacher enrollments to begin with. I'm going to enroll myself right now. My teacher will log in. You can have multiple teachers. If you want to choose any of the names you see here will be ones that'll be available at your school or your organization. So you can enroll multiple people. So you can have more than one person monitoring a class as you go through it. Once you've got everybody there, notice you have an option to change the make primary. If I wanted Johnny to be the primary, I could just make primary and it would change those roles for me. Student enrollments is the next thing I would want to work on. So here again, you've already done the batch import now, so all of your students are there that you can choose from. You're just going to hit enroll beside the students you want to be enrolled in the class. There's no limit for that. You can choose as many as you want. Okay. Once you've done that, I would definitely recommend the printable roster here. That would then let you see the students and what their usernames are. Notice this says reset for password. When you send them, when they get that initial email, when you do the batch import, it's going to give them a generic password for their login account. They can then have the option to change that. So then this would be your way of resetting it for them if they forgot what that change was. So that'd be a way you could do that. All right. So there's your roster. We've got teacher enrollments. We've got student enrollments. Now I want to look at the classroom configuration. This is one of our first options in terms of settings for the course to see how our students are going to see how they're going to work through the course and what options they have. So we've got some abbreviations here. We'll come back and you can see that we'll see those will make sense in just a second. I'm going to click on the settings button and I'll bring this out a little bit so you can see it better. So mastery-based learning is your first option. If you turn this on, it gives you an option of setting what do you want the mastery to be. So as they go through the tests and the projects and other things that they're supposed to grade, what percentage do they have to meet to consider be mastery? And you have somewhere between 0 and 100. Maybe you're going to set it at 75. And notice now they could have you got 1, 2, or 3, up to 3 attempts at those tests then before it would be automatically locked. But they could do that for themselves. They could retake those more than once if they wanted to. So again, if you chose to do mastery-based learning, you just check the box, decide what your percentage needs to be, and how many attempts those students get at each one. And this is setting it for all of the students within the class. Auto proctoring, when they come to tests or things like that, if you turn this on, you as the teacher have to unlock those assessments for them, and they have 90 minutes from the time you unlock them to be able to start the test. If you don't want to do that, obviously you can turn the check off, but if you leave it, it defaults to being on. And then if you want to know more details, you can click learn more. But if you turn it on, that means you have to unlock those tests and they have 90 minutes from that time to start them. So if you're not face to face with them, that may be a consideration you want to think about, because unless you have direct access to them or you are quick on email and things, you might you might unlock it and they may not start within that 90-minute period. Other options then, security settings, as long as the enforce auto proctoring is turned on, they're automatically going to have closed book assessments, which means they can't go back into the content and look at it. If you don't turn that on, then you have the option of giving them the option of letting them look back at the assessments. And then the QF on the other page was for question feedback, if you want to show them correct answers as they go through the assessments, or allow answer review if you want them to look back at those questions and have some options to see the answers all when they're done. All of those are options you can set. I'm going to click cancel for now, but as you make those decisions, you can again look back and see more about, learn more about each one of these if you want to have more details and think a little more closely about each one before you make those decisions. So I'm going to click cancel. And now that's set for all of our students. All right, I'm going to save it. I want to make sure that I saved any changes that I've made. And now I'm going to close that out. All right, and here's the class that I just created. Let's say I've got this started, a new student comes to me and I want to add them to the course. All I have to do is hover over it. There's an edit pencil on the other side. It opens. I can go straight to student enrollments and add other students or other teachers if I want to. Just make sure that it should, once the enrollment happens, that's an auto save. You don't have to actually have the save button. The only save button comes up if you're on the classroom configuration page. Now they've begun to work. Actually, first, before they start working, I want to see how I can make edits within the class to orient to either if there's pieces that I want to take out, if I want to move some things around in the curriculum. Here's how I'm going to do that. I've opened up this page here to where I've get to the, so this is the name of the class and this is the actual content. So I'm going to click on the content. It opens for me in a separate tab. And now I can preview and see what the students are going to see. If I want to take some time to do that, I can click on the button. Here's my overview page. If I click start, it takes me to the home construction introduction. So here it tells me all the different pieces that are within the navigation. Here's the toolbar, and we'll explore this a little bit more with the student page in just a minute. But then I can scroll through here. Here's a video for them, so you can kind of, I'll play one of these just for a second.
Hi, I'm Miss Andrews, and I'll be one of your instructors for this course on the future of home construction. Welcome to the Introduction to Home Construction.
All right. And there's also a transcript for those who may need that. You can click that, it'll open the transcript. If this was an activity that needed to be graded in some way by me as the teacher, all I would do here from this menu, I'd go into this particular activity, click student name, if there was some, and then I could pick the student. This one doesn't have one, but pick the student there, and I would see their responses and be able to know how I wanted to grade those in the grade book. So that's one way. So that's just kind of how you can preview that. On the left side up here, if I click the 3 lines, it shows me the outline. Here's where I have the opportunity to make any edits that I want to make to the content. First off, I would just flip the toggle switch. Now notice I have check boxes for beside everything. That means right now everything is included within the course. If there was individual assignments I wanted to remove, I can do that. So this is a checkup within this. If I wanted to take that out, I'm just going to take the check off, put it back on if I need to. If I want to reorder, I can only do that at the unit level. I can't move individual lessons within the unit, but I could move the unit and move it around and organize it in a different way if I chose to. Whenever I make the adjustments I want, there's a save button here. I'm going to put this back. But that shows me what you can do. If you wanted to create your own activity, if there's something you wanted students to do within this course yourself, you could click create activity, walk through all the pieces in the document here and click create. And then you would be able to have that show up here, and you could move it around and it would put it in the unit where you had open just a minute ago. Lastly, if you want to view by activity, if you want to see, okay, in this course, how many checkups are there? How many tests are there? What are things that I'm going to have to grade as a teacher? If I click the drop down here, let's say I know a practice is something I have to grade. How many of those are there going to be? I check practice, and now it shows me where all of the practices are within this course and what's the point value for each one of those. So then I've got an idea, okay, these are the things that I need to be prepared when they get to be able to give them a grade. And same thing, there's some projects. If you click a project, here's the projects that would be graded within that. So this kind of give you a little perspective to know ahead of time. All right, as I get to this, here's what things they're going to be looking for. And you could click on it if you wanted to when you get back in where we were looking at the product a minute ago. Once we get back out of this and go back to the home page, and I could go into that unit and see, okay, what is the project they're working on? What do I need to be able to answer or respond to whenever they answer those and give me the project itself? So those are the ways that you can monitor the content and set it up, the curriculum, in the way you want to. I'm going to pause for just a second. I've thrown a lot at you in a short amount of time to begin with. How you doing so far? Any questions about the things that I've shown so far? Okay. All right, I'm going to close this up because it opened in a new tab. Now, I'm going to go to a class that I actually have some students in. That's one we just created. I have some data where students actually been working. I'm going to go down here to this Pointful test class. So as I see here, there's again, if I clicked on the cybersecurity part, it would open up the content and I could make edits if I wanted to. I want to look at the grade book for a minute. So I'm going to go to the grade book. So first off, I can see that I have 2 students, and right now I'm on the summary page. So this is the summary of all the units within this class. Nothing's overdue at this moment. Shows me a quality of work score, and then the overall score for the unit right now for this particular student. If there's something I need to grade, I'm going to click the summary drop down, the drop down beside summary, and I'm going to click unit 1 because that's the first unit he's in. Excuse me. Notice now there's 2 things that are graded in this particular category. Excuse me, in this unit, there's a project and there's a test. Since it says CST, that means it's a computer scored test, so you wouldn't have to grade it. But if you wanted to change the grade in some way, shape, or form after they took it, you could come in here and click in the box and edit that grade if you chose to. Due dates. You wanted to one of the questions was ahead of time, how can you determine when assignments are due for students? When would they see that? You do that from the grade book here. If you look here, let's just focus right here at the 1.7.1 project for right now. If I click on the date at the top, I'm making an adjustment for the due date for every student that's within the class. If I click on the little calendar icon beside student 11, I'm just making a change for that student. So you can do either or. Let's say we're going to do it for the entire class. I'm going to click on the calendar. I can choose the individual date for just that activity if I want to, or I can do what's called cascade due dates. If I choose cascade due dates, it's going to let me choose an end date for the entire course. Let's say I want them to be done on the 19th of December, and then I hit save. Oh, I didn't get the start date. Let's say we're going to do here, and I hit save. Now it's going to send now all of them have a due date now. See the check mark right here? It shows me the due date for all of these. And as I go forward from unit to unit, it'll have those due dates now cascaded for every student for every activity between now and the end of the course for the due date that I chose. You can also go back out and clear all course due dates. I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So then you have the option then of doing that by individual activity or for the entire class and for the entire all of the activities within the course. Notice the lock icon right here. If you needed to lock an activity or unlock either one, so you notice it's locked here, but it's unlocked here. So this activity is unlocked for them. The test we were mentioning needed to be unlocked. I could just click the lock and it unlocked it for that one student. If I lock it here, I can unlock it for the entire class at the same time, activity by activity. You're just using the lock to do that. Okay. So those are the ways that you can set end due dates for either individual activities or for the entire course. Obviously, whatever you do needs to be saved, so it'll keep up with what your most recent activity. And then you can change it within units if you want to. That's how you're going to do that. The activity categories will give you, so these are the things, these are the particular categories that we have grades for, and this is the percentage of what what each category is worth within the course. Okay, hold on a second. Let me see this question. A more general question. What's the difference between the Apex curriculum included on the Edmentum platform versus the Pointful courses you're presenting on the Apex platform? Okay, good question. So the Apex courses are ones that we took directly from Apex. The Pointful courses we actually get, if you notice when I first showed you that one, they actually we're using those from Savvis. Those are courses we get from them. So they are not actually available within the courseware platform. They're only available within the courses platform. They're not there. This is the only place you can access those. There's also not as many activities within these Pointful courses, I think, as some of the other ones. So as you can see, there's not near as much to grade here as there are in some of the other regular Apex courses. Hope that answers your question. All right, I'm going to go back to where we were before. And one other thing to look at, we looked at the grades, we looked at how we create and edit the classes. Lastly here as a teacher then is the view data. So when we're here as a teacher, we can look at activity scores. First off, we see all of our active students and you've got their grade to date. If you wanted to see more detail about that student, then I could just click their name and then I can get activity by activity, the ones that were scored, what their grades were. I could unlock from here too if I chose to. You can get activity scores, and this is just really a quick overview of the entire course so that you could see student by student, do some comparisons if you needed to do that. These are Excel downloads or so forth if you need that. Due dates, if you want to see what the due dates are. We don't have any right now, but you could click that. And the classroom attendance report, we first at the very beginning as a site coordinator, you saw the org attendance report. So this one would be the same report, but just specific to this course and not all of the courses within your organization. So as a teacher, this is probably what you're going to be most wanting to see, because then it's going to give you that same spreadsheet, but just specific to this course and not everything within your organization. Student progress. Again, you're just kind of seeing, okay, how are my students doing so far? So student 11 is 3.6% through. His grade to date's a 75 and so forth. So it gives you just some quick hitters there, just reports that you might want to see. All right. That is the basics of what the teachers will be doing. I want to take a minute or two and show you the student side. And then it looks like we should have some time at the end to give you a demo teacher account, let you explore some of the things I showed you while I'm still on with you, and you can ask questions. So I'm going to change over to my student account. So as you can see, the dashboard for the student account looks very similar to what you saw from the teachers, at least from the top part. There's an alerts area for them. There's a help center for students as well, so they can get information they need from the page if they need it. They can look in this and find information they might need. There's a messages area, so if you send them messages, they would view them here, or they can send you a message, but notice the students can only choose the teacher. They can't choose any other students, so there's not like you're going to have conversations going on in the background between students. Calendar would be only if your district level adds different dates and things on the calendars for days that they would not be in school or something like that. And then we're down here now with our courses. I use these demo accounts for tutorials and courses both, so that's why you see both. But you're going to be down here. Your students will be under courses. We have been working in the cybersecurity for this student here, so I'm going to go ahead and open that just by clicking on it. It opens in a new tab. It gives me the option right away to resume if I want to pick up right where I left off. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Here's where I am. I'm in 1.2, the overview, and I'm going to resume. So here's the content they're going to see. They would scroll up and down the page. Here's the text that they were going to read. Oh, I know one of the questions while I'm here. Somebody asked earlier, not in this, but prior to the session, the grade level content of reading, they don't have a Lexile score, but my understanding is it is somewhere between 7th to 12th grade reading level. So if you're thinking about that, that's the kind of levels that you're going to see within the reading. As you can see here, a lot of this one has some text involved in it. There are several others that have videos. So this one has some tabs on it. So this is about secure confidential data. If I click this one now, it's going to change what comes next and so forth. I'm going to read through the text. We have options here at the top. If I just click the play button,
Introduction to
it will
Cybersecurity
automatically begin
Lesson
to read the
2.
page for the students
Overview of
and
security
keeps them up
breaches
with
and
where they're going.
attacks.
If I need a translation of it, if in a different language, the first thing I'm going to do is choose the gear right here and change the translation. And here's the drop down list of all the different languages that are available. Let's go with French here, and I'm going to click save. All right. Then from here, I'm going to highlight the text that I want, and I'm going to click translate. And now it has it in the French language here as opposed to the English. And when I click the button,
Il existe de nombreux types de
it will
failles
read
de
it in that
sécurité et
specific language
d'attaques.
as well.
Voici une liste de quelques failles de sécurité courantes.
All right. So then you can see that for them. Dictionary, if they need definitions, we can hover over that and click the book, and it will give me a definition for the word. So I've got some more information for them there. Screen mask. If somebody has trouble following the text, I can click this and that'll keep it. This kind of highlights just the area they're reading as they move up and down the page. Zoom in, enlarge the text. It's read aloud if we want to do that. Highlighters if they want to highlight or annotate, and then we're back to the settings that they had there to begin with. And I can close this up if I'm ready to look and move forward. So that's kind of how the students are going to work through theirs. We continue when we're ready for the next piece. It tells me what I'm completed, and I can review or continue on as we go through the content. The only other thing for them, and I need to go back to the teacher part, I did fail to mention this. This in here shows them the syllabus and what each section, what each category is weighted. Let me jump back to the teacher side. I missed that for just a second. Let me go back to that one. When we opened up the content where we could look at it to make edits, when we click on resources here and show the syllabus, as a teacher now, I can click in here. If I click edit, and I can determine how I want the weights. If you don't like the particular percentages that is set up from the system as a default, you're welcome to come in here and change those as long as they still equal 100%. And that then would show up for the students here based on what you make the edits to on your syllabus page. All right, I'm going to pause again. I'm going to see what questions you might have relative to the student experience, what they see, before we dig in a little bit and give you some opportunities to explore and ask other questions. Carly, you feel pretty good about that? We can go through that with some time we have left. Okay, great. All right. What course has been the most popular so far? I will be honest, haven't had a whole lot of experience. I do mostly training with these. So I'm not sure in terms of the courses themselves, which ones have been used the most. I wish I could answer that, but I'm not able to at this point. I can ask and get information back. Okay, then I am going to, Carly, are you going to put things, you want to share your screen so that you can put up the login information, correct? Okay, Polly just put the link in. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. Okay, and then there's a teacher login. Let me go ahead and pull these up so you can see what we're doing here, what we're asking from you, and I'll zoom it in a little bit. All right, so for those of you, here's what we want you to do. I think we got everybody. If you'll use the first link, the login page link that Polly put in there, and now here's a document for you to be able to use. So based on your name, they've got you who's assigned to which demo name. Here's your username that you're going to use and the password that you're going to use to log in to those demo accounts. So again, this is your first one, the login page. Use that link first. And then from the teacher logins document that you see on the screen, find your username and password and get logged in. And if you'd like me to, um, if you would like me to, I will go back and we'll refer back to how do we create a class and move forward with some of those things again. If you'd like me to review those, since we did those at the very beginning, I'll be happy to do that while you've got your account and can practice. And at the at the end, Polly or Carly one will post a link to where you can request your personal login that you will use with your students. So what you're using today is just a temp login for you to kind of practice and see what's there. But you will get an initial one on your own. You will get an individual login to use at your site as well after that. Thank you, Polly. She and Carly doing a great job getting the links all that you need to get logged in and everything. I will leave the usernames and passwords up for a couple more minutes. And then again, we'll be happy to go back to the platform and go back through the creation process or anything else that you would like to see again and to demo again as we go through it. How's everybody doing getting logged in? It's very quiet. Nothing in the chat or anything else. I want to make sure everybody's gotten in and are able to look around. And then please, again, feel free to ask whatever questions you might have. All right, just to make sure everybody's on the same page, I'm going to use one of these that haven't been assigned yet and log in just to kind of walk through what you would want to do. So I'm going to sign myself out. Okay, let's see, I'm going to be 25 here. So I'm going to use practice teacher 25. Paste that there. And then I've got the username. Let's give me the password. And then I'm going to sign in. Okay, it's going to create, oh, that's probably one of the issues we're having. Because the email, I didn't think about it doing that. So it's probably asking them to confirm a password. Let me see. And then the email address would not be theirs. It's probably going to be Elizabeth's. I didn't think about it doing that. I just expected to log them right in. I imagine everybody's having that same issue, right? Okay. So that's not going to be as good as we were hoping it would be. Yeah, didn't think about that. Okay. Well, then I guess we're going to just back up and let me just ask quickly, did anybody else have any other questions about the program itself? Okay, you made a new, oh, so it didn't take you to the, okay, thank you, Larson, I appreciate that. So it didn't ask, so it asked you to do the password, but it let you go on in it. Okay, great, good to know. Thank you. Thank you, Shelley, appreciate that. All right, well, that was the last password. That's right, way to navigate technology. I'm impressed. Mine is too short. Hmm. Okay. All right, so here's what you should see if you get logged in. And she must not have designated an email address, so that was helpful. That's the reason everybody was able to get past it. Good job. So again, you can walk your way through site coordinator, change to teacher. Hmm. She looks like she went through and created a bunch of classes and add each individual teacher to that. Okay. Or actually one class added all of you as teachers and put all of the content each one. So you have the option now of kind of looking through all of it. So that's helpful. Now you can kind of explore all the content that's there until you get your original one, and then you can kind of see which ones you want to use based on the needs and interest of your students. That's really helpful. Or you can go through and create your own classroom. So if you just take what time we have left to explore that. Yes, right. Thanks, Elizabeth. Well done. Well done. Fantastic. I see you're finding some courses that are interesting. That's good. Hopefully your students will do the same. You may even want to consider sending an email to your students How long are the courses in general? Let me see if from the syllabus it gives us a better idea. It doesn't give you really to tell you anything. I think based on, since some of them have projects and some of them don't, each one of the courses is slightly different in how the content is presented, whether either in videos or text form, and how they how they're put together and the length of the time with projects. I really don't really know they have a good idea of what that would look like in terms of time. There are quite a few units within each one. Yeah. Let me see if one of my colleagues would be able to answer that. Anyway, I was going to suggest you might even want to look through these and possibly email your students and see what their interest level would be with any of those, and because you may know them well enough now to know the answer to that already. But you could give them, here's a list of the options of things that they may have interested in or want to work toward, and that might be a good way to decide how many you're going to use and where they're going to be used and so forth. I know from the group as a whole, there's a specific number of licenses that you have, and I know Elizabeth will work with you in terms of using those and how that plays out for you. I think we can all use help with personal finance, right? For sure. All right. I'm not going to present anything else other than I just want to take a chance to get a little feedback from you guys. Let me get to the end here. So if you can give me a little feedback using that QR code, I'm not going anywhere. If you have any other questions, we're going to hang with you until the 2:45 time that we're supposed to, or excuse me, 1:45 for you guys. I'm in Eastern time zone. Feel free to put more questions you might have in the chat, or if you want to unmute at some point just to have a verbal conversation, I'd be happy to do that. And I hope that this has encouraged you to see what you can offer your students and how you can provide for them, your adult students, to help them be prepared for the job world and different skills that they might need to do that.